Transportation Department will issue driver's licenses printed on paper due to a shortage in plastic cards.
Had we been able to continue with our procurement activities, we would have sufficient plastic cards right now.
Because of the complexity of the procurement process, submission of bids for interested suppliers of plastic cards was extended up to May 24. With this, the actual arrival of the plastic cards is still uncertain.
Bukod sa shortage sa plastic cards, may problema rin sa supply ng mga plaka.
Magkaroon na rin ng shortage. Ang sabi sa amin, yung plaka natin will be available until I think end of June. Kaya kailangan na rin natin magkaroon ng procurement.
There is a shortage of plastic driver's license cards that the LTO has to work around. Motorists will have to make do with paper licenses for now. And the validity of driver's licenses that expired on April 24 have also been extended until October 31st. What more can the LTO do to prevent this from turning into an unmanageable backlog? We discuss in this episode of the Chiefs. Welcome to this episode of The Chiefs. I'm Ed Lingao. With me in the studio, of course, Ana Marie Pamintuan, the editor-in-chief of the Philippine Star. Ami, happy weekday.
Good evening.
So, mukhang may problema ng mga LTO. After nilang ayusin yung renewal na ginawang online,
wala ka namang card.
wala ka namang card.
Nakuha mo na ba yung card
Offline
mo?
ngayon ang cards.
Nakuha mo na ba yung plastic card mo?
Mag-renew pa lang this year eh. So,
So hanggang October 31.
may pag-asa pa ako nakakuha ng card.
Mabuti ko nakakuha na ako ng 10-year during the lockdowns pa yun.
And this is a continuation of the problem.
Yes.
I mean, I do remember until now, naghahabol pa tayo ng license plates.
Meron naman nga ngayon daw patay yung license plates. And yung paper cards na yan, remember, nagkaroon din ng ganyang problema dun sa national ID.
Oh yeah.
Sa voter's ID.
Ganun pa rin.
Sa voter's ID. And then hanggang ngayon, actually, national ID yung iba. Di ba yung ano muna, yung
Print
digital version.
Oh, kaya
But
print
you
out.
have to print out. Kaya nga.
So that does come with it a lot of other problems or questions or issues. Like for example, kung ang lisensya mo is print out lang, what's to stop you from tinkering with it?
Yan na nga ang sinasabi ng mga delikado nga daw yan for security issues. Ang dali-daling i-forge.
Hoy, kasi kung diploma eh, nagagawa. Paano ba kayong lisensya printout? Okay, well, we're bringing our first guest right after this break, but it's going to be a different topic altogether. We'll be talking about opposition leader Edsel Lagman from the House of Representatives. The Chiefs will be right back. Welcome back to Chiefs on One News. Of course, we will be talking about the LTO's issues and other problems later on, but our first guest for tonight is here to talk about politics, among other things. We have with us opposition leader in the House of Representatives, Bicol Congressman Edsel Lagman. Sir, magandang gabi and welcome back to Chiefs.
Good evening, Congressman.
Good evening, sir. Well, sir, let me start off with that. How goes the opposition? Exactly what is opposition doing now?
Well, it's really unfortunate that the majority coalition is so overwhelming that what the majority wants, the majority gets. But, there has to be an opposition in a democratic setting. Otherwise, there will be no democracy. That's why we are trying to hold high the banner of the opposition. Actually, I'm the only one in the opposition which is not co-opted by the majority, which installed the minority. But there are minority members, despite the fact that they are co-opted, are still standing firm on their opposition on some government errant policies and agenda.
Well, sir, at least it's good na na it's easier to find a consensus kung kokonti lang kayo. I mean, that's one way of looking at it. Pero sir,
And that is not the consensus we want.
yes, sir, I understand, sir.
That consensus cannot deliver.
Pero sir,
Based on by numbers.
yes, sir. Pero sir, to the point you made a while ago, which I think is an important point, which also is a point that has been consistently problematic for the last several Congresses, is the status of the minority in Congress and the fact that the minority is chosen by the majority. I think that has never really been satisfactorily resolved in the lower chamber. Na the majority ends up choosing in a lot of ways the minority.
Well, that was started in the 16th Congress, and the subsequent Congresses up to the 18th Congress has that practice of the majority installing the minority, and I have been against that practice. That's why I belong to the independent opposition.
Pero Congressman, even without that setup, talaga namang hindi naman pinilit yung karamihan dyan, members of the House Di ba? To join after elections, laging nangyayari. Nagkakaroon na lang ng two parties the winners and the losers. And the ranks of the losers, biglang lumiliit yan Lahat naglilipatan na doon sa winner. And we know why. No, they don't want to be left out in funding releases, in committee memberships. Paano yung ganyan kung ganyan na? I think you will agree that it can weaken the checks and balances in a democracy, di ba? Paano magiging role niya ng can a genuine opposition still emanate from the House of Representatives, or do we have to look to other sectors for leadership in the opposition?
It's a matter of party discipline. But we don't have a strong political party system. But I hope we can develop a strong political party system where loyalties are not traded off for convenience and patronage. But I think that the time will have to come, and we will be able to have, again, what we call the institutional minority, which is not a part and parcel of the overwhelming majority.
But to strengthen the party system, you will need to amend the Constitution, right? Or is there another way to strengthen, to promote a strong party system without tinkering with the Constitution?
You don't have to tinker with the Constitution in order to develop a strong party system. That has to come as a process. And the more educated the electorate, the more educated the aspirants, and the more educated and committed the winning candidates to their party affiliation, I think that would forge a better party system in the Philippines, where there is discipline. Now, I don't think we have any discipline, except probably for some small parties.
Pero sir, I suppose the problem goes around and around. In the end, it is Congress that will have to legislate that kind of discipline. For example, the political party reform bill that's always been brewing in Congress, it's perpetually brewing and never passed. Pero nga it's always brewing in Congress, it's always in the back seat, the back burner, and it never gets passed precisely because I suppose you might say na a lot of congressmen, a lot of legislators do not find any political value in reforming the political system. How do you get around that? How, in the end, what's the recourse?
Well, I think eventually we should be able to pass that bill wherein, one, the political parties, the bigger ones, are subsidized by the state. In other words, they get funding from the state in such a way that they do not have to really depend on patronage. Number two, it's a matter of an educational process where we will have to undergo as we mature into the democratic system. And that will need a little more time. But eventually, that would come.
Pero sir, in large part, that's wishful thinking. I mean, how do we get there? I'm sorry for saying that, pero diba, we all want that. how do we push that in in the end kasi ilan lang kayong tutulak niyan. How do you get your colleagues to do it?
There's a bill now on strengthening the party system, and it's introduced by the majority. So I think it's that wishful thinking that we will eventually have that kind of discipline in our party system.
Okay, in the meantime, Congressman, sino ba talaga ang leader ng opposition right now?
The leader of the opposition is the leader of the majority.
Sir, you're talking about the opposition in the House.
No, I mean the political opposition in the
Yes, sir.
in the country.
Well, the political opposition in the country would be led by members of the Liberal Party. I am the president of the Liberal Party, and I am strongly in the reasonable opposition.
Reasonable opposition. Okay. And matatapos na po yung first year ni President Marcos, and siguro in a couple of months, people will be preparing again for the midterm elections. Are there any preparations along this line dito sa reasonable opposition ranks?
Yes, we have started our preparation. We are trying to organize more from the youth sector, from the independent-minded sectors, and from those who have allied advocacy with respect to our philosophy of governance. And we have started that, and we will pursue it in preparation for the 2025 midterm elections and subsequently for the 2028 presidential elections. We are starting early, and I hope we will be able to get more supporters in order to have a better result for the party, for the opposition in 2025, the midterm elections.
Well, speaking of better results, based on the results of the two previous elections, ano yung lessons ninyo and how will it be different this time when you start campaigning for the midterms?
One is that we will have to put up candidates without most probably filling up all of the slate, because we did not disperse our resources. That's why in 2025, hopefully we could fill about 6 or 7 candidates only, and we will support them nationwide. Number two, we're trying to go on the process of educating our electorate that they should be able to select the credible and competent candidates, which we are going to put up as official candidates of the Liberal Party.
But sir, let me ask you this then. How do you intend to shift gears, or I don't know, maybe change or modify the narrative that has been built up over the years against the Liberal Party and the so-called Dilawans? I suppose kasi, I mean, like it or not, that has affected the public perception of the Liberal Party and the results of the past two elections, the debacle of 2019 and 2022.
And that is a very relevant question. That is why we are intensifying our campaign against disinformation, because the Liberal Party candidates were victims of this disinformation.
Yes, sir. But how are you doing that? I mean, it's easy to say that you're fighting disinformation, and everybody can also say the same thing. But of course, the devil is in the details, and it's not that easy to fight the wave or the tide.
Let me just assure you, Ed, that we are going to do that, and we are doing that. And at the moment, I don't want to go into the details because I might preempt what we are going to do. But definitely, we are engaged in the crusade against disinformation, and we are involving the people, the youth, and the relevant sectors of our society in this campaign.
Shift na.
Sir, pahabol ako ng isa pang politics. Sir, if you don't mind, I'd like to get your thoughts on this. We've had 6 years under, of course, President Duterte, and now we've had almost a year under
9
President
years,
Marcos.
yes.
There are some who would say that there are significant differences between the two. Some would also say that there are similarities. From your perspective, sir, how do you look at the first 8 or 9 months of the Marcos administration? Reality versus, for example, your earlier prognosis when he took office?
Well, after almost 1 year of the Marcos Jr. Incumbency, I think he has not scored any runs, but he has also avoided errors. So it's an ambivalent administration at the moment, and it has followed some of the policies of the Duterte administration. As much as possible, it does not want to disengage from the alliances with the Duterte family, because I feel that at the moment the President Duterte has still a reserve power, which if he is marginalized, then most probably he could engage in a disinformation campaign or destabilization campaign against the present government. But I think the present government should be able to detach itself from the errors of the Duterte administration. A test here would be the policy of the government now of not cooperating with the ICC investigators. The ICC and its investigators or prosecutors have jurisdiction over offenses, alleged offenses amounting to crimes against humanity, which were committed between November 1, 2011, when the ratification of the Philippines of the Rome Statute, which created the ICC, took effect, and up to March 16, 2019, when the withdrawal of the Philippines from the Rome Statute at the behest of President Duterte became effective.
Sir, pasigit lang ako isa pa, sir. Kasi there are those who say na, well, kahit pa paano, the Marcos administration appears to be taking the middle ground compared to the previous administration in a lot of issues, whether it's the war on drugs, whether it's human rights. Of course, the Duterte administration was a bit more to the extreme. By any chance, do you find this administration to be more workable, relatively speaking, for the opposition than the previous administration?
I can say that it's more workable, but I think there should be definite policies, like for example on human rights. I hope the present administration would be endorsing the bill on the protection of human rights defenders, which is now going to the plenary, and I hope that the president would endorse its approval in order to confirm its the administration's statement of upholding human rights and the rule of law. But the test here would be with respect to the case of Laila de Lima. If the government really would like to tell the world that we are upholding the rule of law and we are promotive of human rights, then Laila de Lima should be released as soon as possible without much delay, because her 6 years incarceration is so odious, and we all know that is political persecution. Of course, there were offers for Senator de Lima to be granted hospital for law or house arrest but she rejected these offers because, according to Senator Lima, she wants justice. She demands justice, not mercy.
Well, Congressman, that's what the government is saying, that they want to leave it to the courts, but they are willing to have Senator De Lima released on humanitarian grounds.
Well, it's not on humanitarian grounds. It should be based on justice, based on the fact that there is feeble evidence against her, which warrants her acquittal or, at the moment, a release on bail.
I'll just follow up on Ed's question on drugs. Do you actually see a significant difference or a palpable difference in the policy on dealing with the drug scourge? Because some groups are saying tuloy-tuloy pa rin daw yung mga patayan at lalo ngayon dumadami daw uli. What are you saying?
There should be a strong and categorical statement from the president that the war on drugs should not be based on a bloody or murderous campaign. There is need to prosecute the errant offenders in the war on drugs, and also there is need to further intensify our rehabilitation of drug dependence instead of the persecution or execution. And also there is a need for a curriculum where we have to teach the young about the harmful effects of drug addiction and the need to avoid the drug menace. But there is no categorical statement yet on these very important issues. And as long as these are not made, the killings related to the drug menace would continue.
Congressman, we're running out of time. Pasingit ko na lang. I want to zoom out a bit. We talked with Jonathan Malaya of the National Security Council, and he said this government, this administration, can already consider strategic victory over the communist insurgency. What do you think of that assessment?
Oh, what has the government done to achieve that strategic victory when actually the communist insurgency has weakened considerably, particularly with the death of Joma Season. And I think that many of those who were ideologues are now not in action anymore. So this would be most probably some sort of illegal activities. And the government has not done much, really, because what government should do is to put away, to eliminate the grounds or the reasons for people to be dissidents. And that is solving the problem of poverty and inequity and inequality.
Yes, sir. Well, sir, in particular, si Director Malaya was citing data na around 60 plus of the 80 plus guerrilla fronts have been neutralized. That's according to the National Security Council. As well, yung maliban dun sa pagkamatay ni Joma Season, yung pagkamatay ng mag-asawang si Chamson Benito at si Wilma, among other things, sabi nila they do not see any second liners who can take up the causes or new frontliners who can take over the old guard.
Most probably, we will have to take that with a grain of salt with respect to the statement of Malaya. But I think in the evolution of the revolutionary struggle, the strength of the Communist Party has weakened considerably, and many are already participating in the parliamentary struggle. The conflict between my brother, the late
Yes, sir.
Apoy, and Joma Season was on this, because my brother wanted to avoid the deadly confrontation between the government and the communist movement, but for the communist movement to participate in the parliamentary struggle. And Joe Masison was against this, and he wanted the traditional method or warfare is at the front between the government and the communist forces.
Congressman, pahabol na rin. Director Malaya also said the military is endorsing amnesty for the remaining communist rebels. What do you think of that proposal?
Well, they can pursue that. They should not only consider it. They should already implement it.
Okay, sir. Before we let you go, sir, I'd like to go back up a bit and ask you for a big picture assessment of where the opposition is headed for not just for the midterm elections, but as well for the next presidential elections. I know it's a little early, pero you know when you talk about presidential elections, you start preparing the day after the last presidential election. Exactly what is the condition of the Liberal Party right now?
Well, we are intensifying our reorganization. More, as I've said, to get members from the youth sector, from the women and labor sector, and also from kindred spirits in the political arena. And we are also intensifying our educational campaign for voters to be able to select very well their elected candidates more on credibility and competence rather than on patronage. And we are also trying to merge forces with the kindred spirits in the political spectrum.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, sir, to that last point, isundutin ko lang, sir. When you look for kindred spirits, do you have goes and no-goes? Ibig sabihin, yung mga talagang hindi nyo pwedeng kausapin because of banggaan sa prinsipyo o yung mga pwedeng kausapin naman dahil mukha namang nagkakasundo. For example, the PDP Laban or even Partido Federal ng Pangulong Marcos. Kumbaga, anong mga partido, anong mga grupo yung maaari niyong ikonsidera na kaalyansa?
Well, unang-una, yung Akbayan is
Yes, sir.
a partner of the Liberal Party. Then also the party of former President Bam Aquino is also a partner. Then we are also allying with the labor groups and most probably with the agricultural sectors who have their own mission and vision. With respect to the traditional political parties,
Yes, sir.
I think there are some in the traditional political parties which share our political ideology, and we will be able to most probably talk to them and engage them into a formidable opposition bloc in 2025 and 2028.
Okay. Well, sir, always a pleasure to have you on board. Maraming salamat, Congressman at Liberal Party President Edsel Lagman. Sir, ingat parate.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We are starting up a new conversation after this breather, so please stay tuned to the Chiefs.
Welcome back. Papel muna. That's the solution of the Land Transportation Office as it runs out of plastic driver's license cards. Let's hear it from LTO Executive Director Giovanni Lopez. Good evening, sir. Welcome to the Chiefs.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mami. Good evening, Sir Ed.
Director Lopez, nag-aalala ngayon yung mga motorista, nag-a-apply sila. Although we know that na-extend na yung yung mga license expiring as of today, extended na until October. Pero ano ba talaga ang nangyari? Bakit naubusan na naman tayo ng plastic cards? This has happened already with the national ID and the voter's ID in the past.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the opportunity for us to explain. Yes, indeed, we have a shortage of the plastic cards to be used as driver's license because we are awaiting for the Department of Transportation to complete their procurement of the plastic cards to be used as driver's licenses. So in the meantime po, we will be using as a temporary license cards the official receipt na we're going to issue. And sabi nga po ninyo, just last Friday, the ASEC JR Tugade issued a memorandum wherein we're about to extend, or we extended those licenses that are about to expire on April 24, that is today, and onwards until October 31 na.
Director, ang sabi ng DOTR, well, the officials of DOTR naman, sinusunod lang naman daw nila yung procurement laws. Kaya hindi pinayagan ang LTO to procure the license cards, plastic cards, anything daw above 50 million pesos, dapat daw sila, yun daw kasi ang rules. What do you say to that?
Oh, ma'am, I think there's no specific provisions under 9184, the procurement law, wherein it says that above 50 million, it must be procured by mother agency. As a matter of fact, ma'am, the LTO is also considered as a procuring entity under 9184.
Well, sir, I suppose as far as the public is concerned, it doesn't matter if it's LTO or DOTR that buys the cards. Eh. What matters to them, I imagine this is what matters to them, is that pagpunta nila sa LTO at magpa-renew, makakuha po sila ng card. Saan po nagka-problema? I mean, was there a failure, by whether it's by anybody or any group, was there a failure in the planning ahead para masiguro na kung ito requirement, ito yung kailangan gawin?
Sir, okay, sir. Let me just say, sir, that ASEC Tugade, ASEC GR Tugade, assumed office on November 17, 2022.
Yes, sir.
Upon his assumption po, he already instructed our division units in charge of the plates and the licenses to make an inventory of the stocks on hand and forecasting kung kailan mauubos ang ating lisensya. So upon receipt of the report, no, nag-utos na siya kaagad, we might as well start the procurement. So as early as December and the early part of January of 2023, LTO was then preparing all the preliminary activities for procurement. But on the same month, January 2023, we received a special order from the Department of Transportation wherein they are asking us to give the procurement to them for all projects that is above 50 million or 50 million and above. So dun po nahinto ang procurement ng LTO. Again, ASEC GR Tugade assumed office only November 17, 2022. Sir.
Yes, sir. So tama ba, do I understand it correctly na na in the end, ang problema talaga, walang foresight yung decision ng DOTR? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm just trying to figure out kung when it comes to the nitty-gritty, who had the important say or the final say in deciding where we are right now?
Sir, ang talagang problema po is that wala po tayong raw material, wala tayong plastic card sapagkat naantala po ang procurement.
Yes, sir.
At yes, and ang sabi nga namin, this situation, this problem could have been averted if only LTO has been left undisturbed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, okay, that's clear. Mm-hmm.
Saan po ba manggagaling yung plastic cards?
Ano po yun, ma'am? The plastic cards, yun po yung binibili natin sa ating mga prospective bidders. Yun po yung raw materials, sa PVC plastic cards. Tapos kapag tayo po sa LTO, mag-i-imprinta ng mga lisensya po.
No, I mean, hindi naman siya kailangan i-import, local siya.
It could be imported or it can be locally made, ma'am.
Kasi there are some quarters now, they're worried about the security features Well, walang security feature, syempre, kapag ano, yung paper card. How are you addressing these concerns? Even the senators are saying, baka daw ma-compromise yung security, yung security nung ano, yung integrity nung card, kapag print out lang daw yan on paper.
Yes, ma'am. So with respect dun po sa official receipt as a temporary driver's license card po, no, naglagay po tayo dun ng QR code. And that QR code, once you scan it, that will direct you to a link that will show that indeed that person has renewed his license before our office. So, dediretso po yan sa LTMS, the system of LTO. So, that's one way of how to validate it, and that's one way how to authenticate it po. So, we have a QR code. And if I may add, ma'am, yung mga agam-agam that it will get wet, mababasa siya and everything. We made it a point also, ma'am, that the motorist can take a photo of that OR together with the QR code and he can save it in his cell phone. At yun na lang po ipapakita niya sa mga enforcers po natin.
Okay. Sir, bale sir, you're saying na hindi naman talaga siya supply issue, itong cards na to. It was never a supply issue because the materials are really available, whether it's imported or local. It is more of a policy and a process issue.
It's more, sir, I want to put it like this, sir. It's a supply issue because it has to be procured.
Yes, sir.
But it could be locally made or it could be imported.
Yes, sir. No, sir. What I mean is, it's not a supply. It's not a supply issue in the sense na hindi available yung materials. It is more of a problem of the policy, the new policy, and the processes involved.
Yes, I agree. Hindi po kasi nabili on time.
Okay, Director Lopez, may isa pa rin daw ngayong kakulangan, which, well, the story of course came from LTO itself. Nauubusan na naman daw tayo ng license plates. What's the problem naman po dito sa panibago? This is a renewed problem actually. We had that problem before the pandemic eh.
Yes, ma'am. The situation of our license plates is the same as the situation of our license cards. Again, there's a need to procure that. And the one handling the procurement is the Department of Transportation by virtue of the same special order taking away from LTO contracts that is 50 million and above. And the driver's license cards and the license plates are above 50 million, ma'am.
So you're saying the same department order has slowed down your procurement of license plates, kaya ngayon, nawawala na naman tayo ng license plates.
Yes, ma'am. It did not only slow down our procurement, ma'am. It removed. Yes, it removed from LTO the power to procure these items. The two main products of LTO, ma'am, the license plates and the driver's license cards.
Ano nang status dun sa license plate? Along the procurement process ng DOTR, di ba magbibidding yan, tapos may ano, asa na siya ngayon for the license plates?
For the license plates and the license cards, ma'am, the last report that we received from DOTR is that they extended the submission of the bid from April 24 to May 24. So that the submission of the bid would be on May 24 for both driver's licenses and license cards, and license plates, I should say.
Yes, sir. Pero sir, realistically speaking, I mean, you had experience dealing with these forms of contracts. Realistically speaking, how long would it take for everything to normalize if you follow the procedure?
Well, the law allows for an earliest allowable procurement time, that is 28 days. But based on the complexities of this procurement, the technical aspects and everything, even DOTR cannot comply with their earlier commitment of 28 days. So they said that they need more time, but I heard they issued a statement that hopefully by July, they would be able to finish the procurement for both products, the licenses and the plates.
Director, ano yung kulang dun sa license plate? Because I understand we have our own license plate
Making?
printing, hindi
Stamping.
making. Hindi ba?
Stamping, di ba?
Meron na, hindi ba? So anong kulang
Yes, we
doon?
have again the raw materials, ma'am, yung plaka mismo, the raw product. Then tayo po kasi ang nag-emboss. We have
Yes.
robots here, we have plate making units here. What we buy is that yung sinasabi nating aluminum substrate, and of course the hot coil, all other miscellaneous miscellaneous items are included in the procurement.
So ano yung kakulangan ngayon? Would you know, yun sa license plates, how many, yung current inventory, ano na siya ngayon? And gaano katagal before we run out of everything?
Right now, ma'am, we are supposed to procure, ang pinoprocure po ng DOTR, we need to procure 2.2 million pairs for motor vehicles and 11.5 million pieces for motorcycles.
Dami nun.
So yun po yung kakailanganin natin ngayon, ma'am, because we have backlog that we have to address, and the Congress and the Senate gave us budget to at least cover more than half of our supposed backlogs.
Actually, sir, yung kasama ko sa backlog na yun eh.
Yung motorsiklo niya.
Hindi. Yung mga kotse, wala pang bagong plaka yung mga luma kasi kotse namin eh. I think the priority was given to the newer cars eh.
Yes.
For the new plates eh. Pero yung mga old cars, mga 1990s kasi yung mga kotse namin eh. So sir, further pushed back yan. Kasi we're talking about a new backlog, a new set of backlogs.
Yes, sir. So, ang mangyayari po dito, madadagdagan po ang backlog natin while waiting for DOTR to finish po their procurement.
Well, under normal procedures, gaano katagal po yung nakikita nyong delay before the license plates become actually available?
Actually, ma'am, there's already a delay. Because we're supposed to, well, based on our forecast, ma'am, we'll be running out of plates in some of our offices more or less this June to July of this month. So, if they're starting the procurement and the procurement would end sometime in June, madadagdagan na po ang delay natin because we have to consider the production time. It's not only about procurement. Procurement is one thing. The implementation and delivery of the product is another thing. So even if they finish the procurement by July, we have to count how many days or months in order for the winning bidder, to deliver the actual plates.
Yun na nga yung gusto kong tanungin. Until delivery, gaano katagal? How long will the wait be?
If DOTR can finish the procurement by July, I think the first delivery for the plates, and in order for us to emboss those plates, so another 120 days, ma'am. So if that's July, that's more or less December.
For 4 months.
No, that's 4 months from
delivery.
From delivery. So
Yes,
mga
and
na
we
yan.
still have, yes, ma'am, because
2020
once the delivery to them, we still have to emboss those plates. Kasi po, ang binili lang po natin, ang bibili lang po natin is the aluminum. The aluminum, and we do the printing or the embossing here at the LTO office.
Sir, I think so far we've been talking about plates for the new cars, if I'm getting it right. What about the old cars?
Yung car niya.
How far back are they going to be pushed in terms of years?
Kasama na po yun, Sir F. So, yung iproprocure po natin ngayon, yung bibilhin natin, that is why it is quite huge amount of pieces and amount of budget. Kasi we make sure that at least 2/3 of the backlog may sasama na po natin.
Okay. Pihitayabok. Sir, no more medical exams for those renewing driver's licenses. Ikaw ba nag-medical exam ka? Kakaroon mo na,
No.
di ba?
Yes, you have to. No. When I got my 10-year license, meron.
Meron.
Pero yung periodic, no? That's the periodic through
Sir,
the
what's the
10
policy
years.
here? Yung medical exams for the driver's license renewal.
Yes, sir. We removed it already kasi before the policies that you have a 5-year, if you're a 5-year holder, driver's license, at least one on your third year upon issuance, you have to do a periodic medical examination. Now, if you're a 10-year holder, you have to do two periodic
Yes.
medical examinations on the 4th and on the 7th. So what ASEC-GR Tugade and the LTO did is that basically to remove the mandatory periodic medical examination. Because based on our studies, ma'am, wala naman pong direct connection itong failure to do periodic medical examination sa mga road crashes natin. Wala din naman. And once you get to renew your license, you still have to undergo at least once, no?
Yes.
You have to undergo a periodic medical examination. So, we thought it is useless at least iwas abala na rin sa ating mga kababayan. So, we removed it as a part of the requirement already.
Well, halo-halong chapsuy na rin, sir. Yung mga driving school fees, kamusta po? Kasi nagtaas na siya, I understand, recently. How are they now?
Naglabas din po tayo ng memorandum circular setting a ceiling or maximum price. They cannot go higher than 5,000 for light vehicles, yung 4 wheels, and higher than 4,000, I think, or 3,500 for motorcycles.
Pahabol lang, sir. Ito, halo-halong chapsuy talaga. Digitalization. Kamusta po ang digitalization ng LTO? I understand kasi there was a problem previously dun sa yung sa pag-change ng contractors and yung transition. Kamusta po ang digitalization yan?
Tuloy-tuloy pa rin po, no? So we're really pushing for digitalization. Right now we're asking the help of the ICT for a migration from the old IT system and the current IT provider of LTO. And then as a matter of fact, if I may say, Sir Ed, we launched as early as February yung online handheld mobile device natin. So online na rin ang paghuhuli sa ating mga traffic violators. So, ganun po yung ginagawa ni ASEC-GR. Talagang we're pushing hard our digitalization efforts.
Okay. Well, maraming salamat, sir. Si LTO Executive Director Giovanni Lopez. Sir, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Salamat po.
And that is it for the Chiefs. I'm Ed Lingao.
We hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. I'm Ami Paminton of the Philippine Star.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.